Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right, this is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 168. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz, and a wild weekend in New York sports. Of course, the New York Knicks take 2 versus the Cavs at home in front of a rowdy crowd at Madison Square Garden, while the Brooklyn Nets get swept. Their season officially comes to an end, losing to the Sixers in 4. Don't forget, everybody, you can follow us on Twitter at Mike Delivers Pod, at Nick Central, and check out the Bad Weather Fans Twitter account, the official page for all Bad Weather Fans content. Check that on out. But we'll talk a little bit about the Nets season coming to an end. Some Damian Lillard rumors starting to pile up. But we begin with the Knicks' destruction of the Cavs, who now lead the series 3-1 and took care of business at home at the Garden. Alex, I don't even need to ask you.
I'm doing great. I'll answer it anyway.
I know the answer.
I'm doing great. Nets get swept and the Knicks take 2 from the Cavs. There's nothing better than that in basketball for me.
The opposite.
The opposite for you. Yes, and Nets fan, so, but I'm not crying for you. It's just, amazing how well the Knicks played over the last 2 games, and RJ Barrett, everything turned around for him. Once Craig Carton touched him on the shoulder, RJ Barrett took off and went nuts. And it's just amazing because he, had 19 and 8 in game 3, it's 26 in game 4. He's just looking like the star that he looked last year in these 2 games. And that's the kind of guy we need. And if he plays like that, they can win even without Julius Randle playing like Julius Randle in the regular season, but playing like playoff Julius Randle, which is what he's doing again. He's shooting 21 of 65 in the playoffs. That's 32%. That's awful. And it's just, you can't use the injuries as an excuse either because he played great in game 1. So it's just, you can't have it both ways there. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's just, can you, as a Nets fan, answer what the most surprising thing of yesterday's game, because it was a 1:00 game, game 4. What's most surprising thing for the Knicks and from game 4?
I wouldn't say it's from the Knicks. Well, I would say it's from the Knicks a little bit because they did a great defense. They did it great defensively, but Donovan Mitchell being awful. That to me was the biggest part.
Good guess.
And then I guess the other part would be Thibs having the balls not to bring Julius Randle back in the game and ride with the lineup that was great. I mean, those 2 components, I guess from a Knick angle, if I'm looking at it from a lens of an NBA perspective, you've got a guy that's one of the greatest postseason scorers. I'm not saying winners, but scorers. For him to be shut down like he was, credit the Knicks. He missed a lot of bunnies too in the 4th that he usually makes. I shouldn't say bunnies, but makeable shots.
Right.
To me, that, like I tweeted this out, if Donovan Mitchell is going to be 4 for 17 type shooting, they have no chance. They have no chance. None. It's impossible for the Cavs to win. He has to be better than that. So those are my 2 takeaways. Thibs not going back to Randle, actually riding out Obi and the team that was playing well. And then Donovan Mitchell just being a disaster for the Cavs.
Yeah, and for me, the most surprising thing was Obi Toppin playing and benching Julius Randle. It actually gave me hope for Thibs, and that's a lot to say for me. If you've been listening to the show or following me on Twitter, you know that me giving Thibs credit is a lot because I have not seen it. He's done well. They've won some games, but they could have been even better and sometimes, and he's been so stubborn. And not benching Julius Randle, who has been the chosen one for this team. He has been the made man, though untouchable, to get benched in the 4th quarter. Don't give me injuries. He's fine. Is what the most surprising thing is, because that gives me a lot of hope. Because now I'm like, okay, so the man who doesn't adjust in games is now adjusting in games. The man who has never benched Julius Randle is now benching Julius Randle when he's not playing well. And guess what? That gives me a lot of hope. That gives me more hope than them to continue playing amazing defense on Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. That's just amazing, because if he's going to coach based on the flow of the game, which is something Thibs has not done consistently since he's been with the Knicks, then you never know what can happen. It's okay to dream a little bit about winning this round and then seeing what happens. I'm not getting ahead of myself. We still have to get the fourth game to win the series, but I'm just that point alone is getting me very, very hyped.
I wouldn't, and if I was a Knicks fan, I would feel this way, and I wouldn't be ashamed of it. But I mean, if Giannis Antetokounmpo's hurt, that changes everything. And I'm not saying, like, if you're a Knicks fan, you're going to go up against a Heat team that's got injuries of themselves, and the Knicks are playing the best basketball they played of the season. I don't see why it would be impossible to start dreaming. Now, I'm not saying that's a lock for anything, but I wouldn't shame anybody for thinking that way. I really wouldn't. If Giannis is hurt or out, that is a game changer. That changes the whole complexion of the Eastern Conference. The Celtics and Sixers are thinking to themselves when they get ready for their 2-3 matchup, like, we got like this, like, in their heads. I'm thinking they're thinking this is it. If Giannis is gone, if you're a Knicks fan, even if he's healthy and back, it's just not the same Bucks team. If him adjusting, I have no problem with a Knicks fan wanting to dream, especially with how good they are at home in these playoffs and what we've seen. It's going to be a very difficult place for teams to win on the road. I wouldn't be ashamed at all if I was a Knicks fan dreaming that way.
Well,
you
now
might be
after
surprised
game
to hear
4,
me say that.
yeah, I mean, after game 3, I wasn't ready to dream, but after game 4, I'm ready to dream a little bit. I'll give I'll give it that, because I'm not trying to look ahead. I'm not trying to get to the next step, because we've seen many teams lose after getting a 3-1 lead. It's not uncommon.
5%.
The 5%, but it happens. It's
It
not
happens.
like 3-0. It's not
Charles
like
Barkley
What'd he say?
he had some comments when he was playing. They were up 3-1 and he locked it up and they blew it. I don't remember.
Really?
Exactly
I don't remember
that. Yeah, no, and I would think, like, I'm telling you, like, Donovan Mitchell's not going to go back to Cleveland and be that bad.
Right.
Right. I would expect the Cavs to come home on Wednesday and should have a much better performance. And just, we've seen in this, home court makes a huge difference. And that's why that game 1 steal, getting that win, changed the whole complexity of the series, because the Cavs couldn't come into New York and get a win. Donovan Mitchell was awful. And then you go back to Cleveland. I would anticipate a better Cavs team. I'm not saying they're going to win. I don't know. If I had to guess, I think the Knicks win and wrap it up at the Garden. If I had to make a bold prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially the way this team's playing defense and the chemistry that they're building. It's apparent. It's easy to see. They're having fun on the court. And let's see if RJ Barrett can transfer his home playoff ability. See if he can do that on the road, because you're right. And people have said this, when RJ Barrett plays well, it gives the Knicks just a different look. It changes the whole dynamic of that roster. It gives them so much more depth. And, can he do it in Cleveland will be the task, because he hasn't proven that yet. And he was great at home. Can he do it in Cleveland? And I think if he does, the Knicks come away and they're playing the Bucks or Heat in the second round of the playoffs.
Right. And that's insane to say. It's just insane. And it's Quentin Grimes, last episode, I was calling out RJ, Quentin Grimes, and Emmanuel Quickley. And Grimes is hurt. RJ Barrett answered the call. Emmanuel Quickley has not. And that's been hurting the Knicks. And he had, maybe 11 points in game 3, but has been bad. And that's a major wrinkle in the Knicks, too. At some point, you would think he's going to turn it on. I don't know if he's going to do it in Cleveland, but we'll see at some point, but we can't sit around waiting for Emmanuel Quickley to turn around and hope and keep hoping, because eventually you're going to be like, all right, well, he's just not doing it this year so far. And you always say this on the show that, the reserves or the lesser players usually play better at home in the playoffs. What?
Is that a me thing?
That's a Mike thing. That's a Mike Biseglia thing.
Okay.
And it's true. Because you look at guys like RJ Barrett stepping up at home, and it's crazy. And you look at guys for the Cavs like Mobley and stuff playing better at home. And game 1 they stole it. They were winning most of the game, but the Cavs took the lead in the fourth quarter. And just like yesterday, the Cavs took the lead in the fourth quarter. They haven't been games 2 and 3 is a blowout either way, right? But games 1 and 4 have been close, and it's not like the Knicks have just been stomping them out in those games. I mean, I know they won pretty handily, but it's it hasn't been like, oh, the Knicks are guaranteed to win the next game and this is over. This is not like, no offense, Nets and Sixers, where it's like, even if the Nets stole game 3, you knew they weren't going to win the series. It would have made it a little more exciting.
So well, games 2 and 3 were the blowout games, right? The Cavs beat the crap out of the Knicks beat the crap out of the Cavs, and then games 1 and 4, the toss-up games, the Knicks did what they couldn't do last year. They won close games, and they did it because they got a leader now, and they got a point guard in Jalen Brunson, and that's the difference. I'll say this: if he's not on the team, they don't win those games. And I know Brunson early in the fourth quarter was like over the first 4. Knicks not making shots, but he settled down. And that's been the big difference. And, Richard Jefferson nailed it when he said Josh Hart makes his team to get to the second round. And I can unequivocally say if Josh Hart's not on the Knicks, they don't beat the Cavs. I feel that confident in how well he's played and what he's done, especially in transition, getting up and down the court, his defense in particular, and just his energy. I would feel very confident in saying Hart's not in this series. I'm being literal, not metaphorical. The Knicks don't win. I really believe that. I really believe that after seeing how he's played in these games.
I agree, because look at what happened. Quentin Grimes is hurt, and you're able to put Josh Hart into the starting lineup and not Quickly, who has been playing poor. So if you put Quickly in the starting lineup now and you have no Josh Hart, what is your team? Off the bench, like Deuce McBride played some good minutes and playing good defense, and I really like Deuce McBride, but after that, what's your rotation? You know what I mean? Then you have to go back to Evan Fournier. You know what I mean? Then what's going on? Then you're kind of screwed. So it's good that they have Josh Hart. I mean, that really helped them. It really did. I mean, and you can see the record speaks for itself. They've got to be like 19-8 with him, or 20-8 right now, something like that, with just him on the roster, including the playoffs. So they were 30-27 before they had him. So that has been the turning point of this season, and Richard Jefferson nailed it. And unfortunately, he's right, and we don't like that when Knicks fans.
But no Knicks fan will mention that. They'll just say he's a troll.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they'll just say he's a hater, and he is, but he's admittingly, but he also has said some nice things about the Knicks, and he was right there too.
See, to me, I'm not. Yeah. I feel like my brain works with RJ's, where I would never shy away from saying I don't like the Knicks.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, if you've heard me in the last 15 minutes on this podcast, I haven't said anything that I feel like any Knicks fan would look at Mike and go, "What a fucking hater." I mean, so I can want the team to lose, but then be honest about how things are going.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing you could ask from anybody. And I think RJ doesn't get a fair share of that because of the blinders of when things are said negatively that bother Knicks fans.
Right. But he's gone over the line a few years ago with the Knicks, during the Knicks for Clicks era, I would say, in 2019, 2020, when he was going a little heavy. And I think that's what made, and he, remember he lied about saying that the Knicks tried to offer him a contract when he was towards the end of his career.
Well, that is such bullshit, because I watched that game. Yes. He was on that, and he said it so sarcastic. It was a whole joke.
Right. No. He was joking, but it was taken seriously by people taking it out. So then that becomes a perception thing. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. So it becomes a perception thing, and you're like, what the fuck? Fuck this guy. And then I find out there's an article like, hey, the Knicks are not interested in Richard Jefferson. Because the whole thing is just like, yeah, he didn't care.
He was joking around.
Right.
Just like if you or I were doing the podcast and I was like, the Knicks show offered me a job, but I turned it down. Not that it's anything the same. And I'm not making $20-25 million a year on the podcast. You were annoying on Twitter when, of course, you have to point. Well, the net crowd in Game 4 was awful. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it wasn't. But the net crowd in Game 3 was electric. It was awesome. I mean, it was really awesome. So I felt like when you're going on Twitter and you're saying, look at these crowds comparing the two, I felt it didn't feel like it was a fair fight based on what you were comparing it to. A Nets team down 3-0.
I was comparing. I brought up Game 3 too, though. I said even Game 3
after Net fans had to pry it out of you.
No, it was in the tweet. It was in the tweet in Game 3 and Game 4. It was in the original tweet.
Game 3 was amazing, and I know,
but it's still not comparable to the Garden. Even Game 3, the Nets at their highest, the crowd is not comparable with the home court advantage. It's just not.
Okay, 2 parts. One, but it came across like you're comparing it to this one Game 4 that was dreadful, and at the same time, it's like, why is that so important? I like. I get you. Like the Garden crowd was awesome, and if I get one more tweet about, is there anything like this at the Garden, and it's a video of the people cheering, the answer is yes. Sorry, it's a great home court. It was great energy. It was amazing. It's one of the top places you can play in all of sports. But yes, there's other places that get loud. I'm fascinated by it. Knicks fans need to tell you how loud their arena is. It's a very important thing for them.
Well, it's also fighting back to when the Nets were talking shit, and that's just what it is. And they were talking a lot of shit about saying how we own the city and look at our crowd and we're selling out and we got the stars and the Knicks are this dusty old franchise. And now that the shoe is on the other foot, I'm just giving it back. And you guys don't like it. And that's why you get upset. But in my tweet, I said compare crowds, Knicks last night and the Nets in game 3 and today. That's the difference between the two fan bases when it comes to home court advantage, argue a wall. And that's what I said. I said game 3, because if you compare game 3 to game 3 at the Garden, game 3 for the Nets, game 3 at the Garden, it's not comparable. Even 2 years ago when the Nets had the stars, it's not comparable. It's just not. And that's just the level. That's just what it is. The Knicks fans are louder, and the arena is a more of a home court advantage when you have just the fans on your back. And it's just what it is.
I hear you. I understand it, and I guess I'll never understand the talking points of this is so important to me.
Well, that's so because you didn't start. You weren't one of those Nets fans.
And this just goes back to when I was a little kid with the Knicks. Like always, like. We're loud. We're the best. Like I'll say it to you. I've said it to you in the front. I've never met a Knicks fan that could tell me more about basketball than myself. I've been still waiting. I'll still wait for the day. I get really passionate and angry when people telling me like there's nothing like this, there's nothing like that, because in my heart and in my soul, that's the way I act. That's the way I am. So I don't need to be minimized or diminished. I feel like I got my partner here. Like,
Leon, if you're watching on YouTube,
it frustrates me. It annoys me. So, yes, you're right. And I would concede this in a heartbeat that the Garden is louder than the Barclays Center. I would never in my lifetime even try to make that comparison. And you know that coming from me, that would never happen. But game 3 was electric at Barclays. And I won't let because the Garden crowd was louder diminish how great it was at the Barclays Center. I won't.
Yeah, well, I'm just playing defense here, man. I'm just giving it back. Just because the Nets are
learn to adjust like Thibs. Come on.
Just because the Nets are on the way down and they're sort of a dead team this year, even if they made the playoffs, and that's not talking out of school. It's you can't talk shit when the team is good and then act like you're this defenseless little kid when the team is bad. You got to take it. If you're gonna dish it, you got to take it. And that's not you. That's not you particularly as a Nets fan. But that's all the whole.
But you're fighting with 12-year-olds on Twitter about
it's not 12-year-olds.
It's
12-year-olds. It's not 12-year-olds.
It's Johnny 12-7 who just left Little League, and Alex is on there fighting him.
It's not 12-year-olds. It was a whole Nets perception, and it just is what it is, man. Excuse me, I'm getting all choked up here. But the Nets got screwed in game 3 with Embiid. He should have been tossed out of that game. And you sort of got the suspension in game 4 when he was injured. But game 3, he needed to be tossed out of the game. You can't kick a guy in the nuts. And even intentionally, even if Claxton drew the kick and taunted him and got him to kick him and stepped over him, which he did, you can't kick a guy in the nuts and then play in the game. He should have been tossed. I don't know about suspended for game 4, because if you toss him out in game 3, it's a few minutes into the game. It's a suspension. And then you got the suspension anyway, but it didn't matter because you were down 3-0, so you were going to lose the series regardless at that point.
It sickens me that there's a thought process that I'm going to have to root for him in a potential spot. If the Knicks got to the ECF and the Sixers were on the other side, I'd have to root for them, which is crazy. But this is why I said this to you before, and I was dead wrong about the Nets. I clearly got that wrong. I thought they would. I thought they'd have one of these games where they shoot better. They never shot better. And you're right. I don't think I'm going to say anything here that's earth shattering about the Embiid stuff. Everybody knows it by now.
Yeah.
But this is what would scare me about the Sixers long term, man, is they got flaws where it's like Embiid's always hurt. Something happens with this team. Now they got more depth than they've ever had because Maxi's playing great. Harris had a great series. They've got a much better bench than they have. So they've got the depth in Philly. But there's something about Embiid in big spots where it's just he crumbles. And he was bad versus the Nets, and the Nets doubled him, so he opened up shooters all over the place. But there was something about him in this series that just felt off. And I think a Sixers fan would agree with that. One that truly in their heart knows, like, he's going to have to play better than that versus Boston if they want to win that series. He has to.
I agree, and he was injured, and that's a legit. He's
always
for
injured.
Him, but he's that's what the next thing I was going to say. But he's always injured, so you have to learn as a star. Patrick Ewing was always injured. He always played well in the playoffs. You know what I mean? He might not have had as many game-winning shots as I wanted, but guess what? He was more injured than Joel Embiid, and he played every single game. and until it was too much for him that he really couldn't play. It's just that's just what it is, and this is who you are, and you have to learn to play with the injuries. And listen, the Sixers now have a week or so to rest up for the second round, and that's probably the best thing for them for the future. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Dinwiddie was terrible. He was bad in the series. Mikal had a bad game 4. Cam Johnson was really good in the series. I think he was one of the bright stars for the Nets in the 4 games. He's a restricted free agent. Nets have cap problems all over the place.
Right.
2 guys in particular, Ben Simmons making $37 million next year, and Joe Harris making 19.9, who for another playoffs was just dreadful. I mean, he had game 3 when the Nets went on that crazy third quarter run. They had a chance to get the lead from like 5-7 to 10-12 multiple times. He failed them. Game 4, the same with 3-point shots. Anytime there's a big momentum 3, you could just feel the crowd go, like every time with Joe. And it's just gotten to the point where he was a great net, but if they can figure out how to move on from him, and this is the last year of his contract, it's just kind of over. And it's sad to see too, because he almost in a way personifies this whole era of Nets basketball where the Nets were terrible with no draft picks. Got guys like him, LeVert, Dinwiddie, Allen got better, then made the move for the superstars, and now on the decline on the way on the back end. It's tough. So you're right. I mean, the Nets season was an utter failure. But at least say the only shining moment is, I mean, they're not anywhere. But at least now they're like foundationally in a position where they can grow and they can build, and they have draft picks, and we'll see if anything comes from this Damian Lillard stuff. The Nets have 11 picks over the next how many years it is. Damian Lillard at game 3 for the Nets series. He's good buddies with Mikal Bridges. If he's on the market, a lot of executives and GMs, anonymous, think that that would be the landing spot for Damian Lillard.
That would be good. I mean, that'd be great for the Nets, but then it's just, why would Dame leave Portland for Brooklyn to play with Mikal Bridges? We've talked about this too. It says if he's going to leave Portland as a Kevin Garnett, let's say leaving, he's going to want to go and find his Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and try to win a title. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just the Nets, they're stuck with Ben Simmons, which is killing them right now. And that's why I was saying you need to stretch provision him, which is, you pay off his contract at a lesser number, way lesser number over a longer period of time of his contract is basically what it is. You have to put it in by a certain time, but it's something like, I was trying to read it just now just to get a quick gist of it, and it was just it's hard to explain. Well, basically, you stretch it out over a longer period of time. Let's say it's 2 years left. You stretch it out over 5 years with like a tenth of the contract per year that hits the books, something like that.
Yeah, but he only has 2 years left on his deal, and to stretch somebody out for that, to me, wouldn't make sense, especially if you're going to, first of all,
well, it depends. It depends what you can do. It depends what you can do this offseason.
You have to at least see how he performs this year. You have to.
It's not going to happen, man.
I understand, but
it's not going to happen.
You have to.
Yeah,
you have to.
Have no choice.
Of course, would I bet on 95%, right, that it happens, and 5% that it doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
Probably right. Of course, you're right. If you had to ask me what my honest opinion was, it would be he's going to be awful. Something will happen. We'll have a game 2, 1 or 2. This is what I think is going to happen. 1 or 2 good games, and then something will happen. Right? It's just the same back. Shit.
See
something
will
happen, and that's my honest. Yeah, I think he'll come out and you'll be like a little excited. He looks okay. He looks decent, and then it'll just go down the tubes. But you have to at least try. With that in mind, the guy's going to have a year and a half left on his contract. To stretch provision somebody out, to me, is silly. You just go in, because what'll happen is that expiring contract will become so valuable.
But is it at $37-40 million? Like what kind of?
It'll become 37 to 40, but you can use that to play with and have the year. You're not stretching a year and a half to 10 and having that money lump sit there. You just get rid of it and it's over.
Yeah,
I just get rid of it and it's over.
Well,
you don't want to have that sit there forever. It's not like he's under contract for 5 years. He's not Jerome James, right?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be over soon.
I get you, but I just feel like he's such an anchor on that franchise. That just getting him out might be a positive, like addition by subtraction type of deal. But also the point that you're making, I think, is that you can use that money to get a Dame and just dump a 20 picks at them, and you match up the contracts with Ben Simmons, and then the Blazers just maybe do the stretch provision for him, or just sit on him for 2 years and rebuild. So I don't know what to do, but I really do feel like very passionately that the Nets should stretch provision him and just get him out, because it reminds you of the Kyrie cloud. It reminds you of the Durant cloud. It's just the hangover from that, and it's just like this anchor that's, he's showing up with these weird outfits to games. They're getting mocked. Just get that negativity and just get it out of there. Try to trade him, sure.
He's not
but
tradable.
If you can't, if you can you need him for matching contracts.
That's what he is. Yes.
Yeah,
you need him for matching contracts, and that's what he is. And that's there's no no one's gonna be like, I'm gonna take a flyer on Ben Simmons. No, he has no value.
Yeah,
none.
Or maybe you can convince him to retire with an injury thing, and then you get the money back or something like that. Like, hey, I'm too injured. I'm never going to play again.
Yeah,
and then they make a deal.
He's going to try again, or whatever you want to call it.
Right, because he has to get his money. He wants his money, of course. And I don't blame him. I mean, fucking, Steve Nash admitted that at the end of his career, where he was showing up for Lakers and he was done, but he had 2 years left or a year left on his contract. He's like, I'm showing up because I need to get paid. Like, I got this contract. Why the hell would I not? I go up and show up for practice and go for treatment and for a year, and then I get like whatever amount of millions and millions of dollars. Of course I'm going to do that. Why would I retire? It's stupid. So it's a business, and I don't blame Ben Simmons for that. I blame him for how he's acting for the last 2 years. I mean, he might be injured. I don't know, but it's very, very hard to believe sometimes with him, so it's just, especially when you don't play and you don't work out, your back gets worse, so it's just constant back problems. I don't know. That's why I still feel that they should just get him out of there, however way possible.
I can't believe we're in a world now where we have to sit here with the Knicks on the verge of the second round and the Nets are just fucked. It sucks,
man. Well, you know what? Aaron Rodgers news came back out. The NFL draft this week.
I just don't care.
They're renegotiating. I'm like, Ian, not now. The Knicks are playing.
Oh god,
it's just enough. I just have
this is definitely a flashback to like when I was younger. It totally is. It totally is. You're watching the Knicks, and it's like, all of a sudden, there's
John Stiller,
Ben Stiller,
Hank Azaria. Yeah, that's all.
They're all
guys
right. Yeah. Here we are. Yeah, all right. The same shit.
Yeah, nobody's going to Nets games, and now it's a mess. Yeah,
it's a mess.
Get it.
Yeah, so it's kind of.
Hey, I'm liking it, so I'm happy.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Oh, I mean, it will. I mean, let's just. We got to get Giannis healthy.
I think he's going to be fine. I think and plus to look ahead, where I don't want to look ahead, but to look ahead, playing the Heat is not a pushover for the Knicks. I know they don't have Harrow right now, but the Knicks struggled with the Heat this year, and I know it's regular season, but
games.
Right, and one of the wins was that miracle Julius Randle 3. It's not like they
Harrow missed one at the buzzer.
Harrow missed one there. See, like there's a lot of things there, and Harrow's gone, and that's fine. I get it, but with Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, they're not going to be like, hey, they were happy to be here. You know what I'm saying?
You heard it here on Bad Weather Fans. Alex breaking down Knicks Heat.
I am breaking it down.
It's 3-1.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of Knicks in 5 chants outside the Garden.
Of course.
So hopefully
and fuck Trae Young chants. Can we stop with the fuck Trae Young?
No, you can't. You can't.
I know it's like it's a joke now. It's not like a serious thing, but it's just it's enough, guys. But anyway, I'm loving. At first, I hated the dancing in the streets, but I think it's great now. This is just what we do.
It's like the Bills jumping on tables. It's the same thing.
Exactly, and it's initial. Like we talked about this all the time with Triple M when he was on here. He's the one who had the initial video when they hit 500 3 years ago, whenever it was during the pandemic. And then there were a couple fans in the streets like going crazy. It was organic. It was real. And his video blew up to like 3 million views. Yeah. And then what's it called? And then they started doing the BS. The fans are trying to run out of the arena every time they win a big game and trying to get on TV. And I get that. And then after they win the playoff game, there was kind of a bottleneck coming out of the Garden that day when I was there, game 2 against the Hawks. And yeah, all the fans were going crazy and in the streets, but most normal fans like me were trying to get the fuck out of there. We're cheering like, yeah. But like at the same time, I'm like, can I get out of here? And so, and I think that now blew up into what we have today, where now it's like fans that aren't even at the game are at the bars locally and are coming outside the Garden to just get there and saying, hey, don't you wish you came to the Knicks? And I love it. It's fun. And that guy's great, but it's not as organic as it was, but I don't care. Just we're win some games, dance in the streets. I don't give a shit. Keep winning playoff games.
I don't. I think it's cool, and I would
Yeah.
understand. I get that. That guy did it again. He said, "Don't you wish Donovan Mitchell you came to the Knicks?"
He said, "Hey, Spidey
or Spidey," which also was like,
why are you mocking Donovan Mitchell though? He wanted to be on the Knicks. He wanted to be
mocking Leon Rose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's who you should be telling. He was like, I was down for it.
Yeah, Kevin Durant didn't want to come to the Knicks when he could have. Donovan Mitchell was trying. He was showing up. He was doing a tour of New York City the whole summer.
Right. That was different. That was different. He was definitely trying. Oh, man.
He wanted it.
Theater in my head. If the Cavs get game 5 is obviously critical, and just switch that pressure. Because I know what'll happen. They get game 5, it's 3-2, and then you come back, you go, oh, we got to wrap it here. We're going to Cleveland. And that's the mindset. And I know it. I've seen it. I know every talk show will do it. And that's what it is. You'll hear a million times that same narrative, but it's real. And that's what as the
RJ Barrett was
nation we need.
RJ Barrett was told to retire. He was told to be traded. You got to trade him for nothing. Just get him off this team after the first 2 games. I mean, that's what everybody said on the radio. I mean, they're on the radio. So I mean, that's it's real. They should have traded him. I mean, who knows? And now look at him. You know what I mean? You got to give a player time to grow. And that's another thing our boy Richard Jefferson said. You got to give these kids a chance to fail so they can grow. He's 22 years old. He's not like Julius Randle where he's 28 or something and he's been around the NBA. And it's just like, this is who he is. He plays well in the regular season, stat pads, and in the playoffs, he fails. So far, prove me wrong, but this is what he's been. RJ Barrett, 22 years old. This is his second time in the playoffs. The first time he was okay. He wasn't good, but he was okay. And now this year, he finally is coming to his own in games 3 and 4, and let's see what happens in game 5. And you know what? I'm okay with it. And Mike, I did a poll. Knicks fans, how do you see this Cavs series ending? Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6, Knicks in 7, or Cavs in 7? What do you think won?
Well, it's going to be close. Probably Knicks in 5 slightly.
Cavs in 7. No, I'm kidding. Knicks in 6 won with 50.2%. Knicks in 5, 44.1%. Knicks in 7, 1.9%. And Cavs in 7, 3.9%. So Cavs in 7 actually beat Knicks in 7.
That was the 12 net fans that voted.
Yeah, but it just shows that if this gets back to Cleveland, Knicks fans are going to be we're going to be worried. That's going to be scary, So you're up 3-1 and we're dancing in the streets, and you're thinking about the Bucks and losing Giannis and playing the Heat in the second round, but you got to get that 4th win. So let's try to like stay on point here. You know what I'm saying?
You think think this is good or bad for the Knicks that the game's that's on Wednesday and it's like 72 hours away? And there's a huge gap between Sunday and Wednesday. Unlike, hey, let's play this Tuesday and get it going. You know what I mean? It's another day.
I guess, but I think Sunday to Wednesday is like you're saying you wish it was Tuesday.
No. I'm asking you, do you think that helps or hurts the Knicks?
I think it's okay because it's not like what they played. When did they start? They started Tuesday and then they played Saturday, right? That was a long time. I think they played Tuesday then Saturday.
Well, the series started on a Saturday night. Then they played again on
Wednesday,
Tuesday. It was Saturday,
Tuesday,
because the Nets
played Monday,
Sunday.
Nets played Monday, right? And that's where Saturday, Monday.
It was Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday.
Saturday, Tuesday, Friday. Okay, yeah. So Saturday to Tuesday was a long, So it is a long time, but when you're coming from, you're going on a road trip. So like they were traveling probably last night to Cleveland or today. You know what I mean? Maybe they let them sleep. What?
I think today.
Probably today. Let them sleep in their own beds, have a good night, and then wake up in the morning, get on the bus. But I think it's different when you have that travel day than when you're in Cleveland between game 1 and game 2 and you have nothing to do. Like, what the fuck is there to do in Cleveland for 3 days? You know what I mean? That's a little different. That's a long time to wait. And then they got blown out in game 2. So I think having the travel day, I think the extra day is okay. And I think they'll keep their momentum going. I think it's just a matter of, are the Cavs giving up? Are they ready to come back and fight? Or do they still have some fight? Because they look a little rattled. Donovan Mitchell in the post game they're asking like he messed up the games when he was talking about like what's next. He's like in game 5, 6 at 5, humana. So it's just we're getting there where it's just like, oh shit, we punched him in the mouth, and they're like, wow, we have to win game 5, but even if we do win game 5, I don't know if we're winning game 6. It's just in their head because we got to go back to that fucking Garden crowd. You know what I mean? And deal with that shit again. You know what I mean? So we're getting there, man. I know you don't think it's real, but that's a real thing, man. That Garden crowd is raw.
I said it to start the show. I said that's bullshit. That's bullshit, Alex. That's not what I said. If you go back and rewind this show, I said that crowd was. I said this show was. I said that crowd was incredible. And I
Yeah.
said, you don't want to go there and play. I even said teams coming in, it's going to be difficult to win there. I said that.
I know. I'm teasing.
How is that? I'm very defensive about it. I am. I'm not going to lie. I am.
Take crowd conversations very seriously.
I do take them very seriously. I do.
Yeah. No, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Like,
you grew up going to Nets games, season tickets. I get it. I grew up going to Jets games, season tickets. I get it because, people, it's not our home stadium, and but it's our home field. Growing up going to Jets games, and every single game, my stadium that I grew up in that I love is Giant Stadium. Like it's like a fucking mind fuck. Right. You know what I mean? Like I want to get like one of those like toy stadiums or not toys, like display stadiums of Giant Stadium with a Jets end zone. You know how hard that is to find? That doesn't make any sense either. It's just funny. Like it's just a mind fuck.
Yes,
anyway, so I get it.
I said when we came on this show, the Garden crowd was amazing.
Right.
I said it's going to be insanely tough for teams to go into the Garden and win, especially how good that crowd was. Yeah. I also said that there's other stadiums and arenas that get loud, and I'm sick of people showing me there's nothing like this. There is. That to me, I can't. And I get your pride of it's your team and it's loud, but I'm not going to accept like when the Knicks are good, there's no decimals that are louder in all of sports.
There's not. No, I'm just kidding. It's one of the greatest places as a home court,
but there's also other great places, and I won't allow that. I won't allow it.
Well, let's end your quote at it's one of the greatest places. And
I know. Well, I'm sure Coonies will go on there, clip it, put in your group chat with all your dickhead Knick fans and have fun with it. So there you go. Clip it.
You know what's funny is I forgot right now people are starting to see how the Knicks fans are the sleeping giant in this city. We have been down for so long. We're ready to pounce on any kind of excitement, any kind of success. And this is showing that. I know like Knicks fans have gotten a bad rep for being too negative, but guess what? We have a reason to be negative. They've been shit for so long, and they've had a few good years here and there, but it hasn't been real. And now it feels real because we got a young team, we got our draft picks, and we're like on the ascend. And now Jalen Brunson is a star out of nowhere, and holy shit. So this is excitement, and this is going to show other players around the NBA who are too young to remember the 90s. They weren't old enough in their early 20s. If they're in their early 20s, how the fuck do they know what happened with Larry Johnson and John Starks? They don't remember. They just know videos. So now they are seeing it. They're like, holy shit, the Garden is whoa. You know what I mean? This is great. This is not just the Hawks COVID bullshit, excitement and then just happy to be outside. This is real. The Knicks fans are real, and the Garden is legit. When you win here, you are, oh my God, you are a legend. Like John Starks, had an awful Game 7 in 1994 Finals, but he's still one of the best players in franchise history. That's a fan favorite in franchise history, one of the biggest fan favorites in franchise history. He's at the Garden front row singing "Hit the Road Jack" with the fans because of what he did at the Garden and playing hard and giving it us all. And if you do that, you are welcome forever, for life. Larry Johnson was there giving RJ Barrett pointers at the end of the game. Now, that's why I put his jersey up too today. I got Starks and Larry Johnson up today on YouTube. If you're watching at Bad Weather Fans, whatever the numbers are, just type in Bad Weather Fans on YouTube. And you'll see that these are the guys that we remember forever. And Sleeping Giant has awoken, Mike. The sleeping giant of the Knicks fan has awoken.
Well, hopefully there's a Greek freak to put you back in your grave.
Well, this series is not over yet, Mike.
Well, that's how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Giannis healthy.
Ahead. Yes.
I'm texting with my Bucks people. What's the latest? What's the latest? No, I agree with you though. I think this people seeing this and seeing how electric the Garden is and seeing what it's like when the Knicks are good. I wouldn't disagree with you. There is at least in New York nothing like it because there was only one team. So it's very different, right? Like with the Giants and Jets, people were split. Mets, Yankees, people are split. The hockey, there's a real split. There really is. I mean, the Rangers are the lead dog, but the Devils and Islanders are legit with their fan bases. Very different with basketball. And I think that's why, you come around to it, that's why it's so important for Knicks fans to, one, showcase this. And then two, let Net fans know, like, don't come around. This is what it's about. So I understand having to make sure then to put, the rowdy Net fan, if you want to call them, in their place and show them this is what it's like winning basketball in New York City.
Right. Don't start no shit, won't be no shit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
yeah, they had to start shit. They did.
Right. You got to be relevant somehow to be relevant. So you got to use the Knicks to be relevant. And that's what happens. And now you're back in your place and we're going to put you, but keep you down in your place. And that's just what it is with the Knicks fans. And that's why I'm doing it.
It's with the fans, though.
It's with the fans,
though. No, the
organization did it too. They started the whole thing. The organization and the fans took the lead of,
but it shows to me, like I said, we've talked about this a million times, but it shows to me that if you're tweeting about that at night and trying to make a point, you can say, "Oh, I'm doing it because of what the net fan did." You're still doing it. Right. It's on.
No, I get it.
I get it. It was on your. If in 1994 you wouldn't have been tweeting about, look at the Meadowlands versus the Cavs, or whatever it was. You wouldn't.
I wouldn't have been writing the radio station.
But you cared. But you cared, right? You care. I mean, you cared enough to tweet about it, which says everything that you need to say.
I agree. Like that's why I was saying it's not about amount of fans; it's about the passion and how the fans act at the arena.
So are you saying I have less passion than Knicks fans?
I'm saying as a whole, the fan base.
Are you saying
not
me?
You particularly? No, not you.
You calling out me?
I'm saying that I have less. You as a fan base.
You saying I have less passion than Triple M about my team? I might.
You might. You saw him dancing and jumping on the on the whatever that was, the construction thing, saying "Let's go Knicks." So doing the whole.
That was funny.
That was great.
Are you saying I have less passion than all the Knicks fans?
I think so. I think that's what it is. No, it's not you. It's not. And the same way when you talk about me saying things about Knicks fans, when I'm like, I never said that. You know what I mean? It's just like we have these kind of debates sometimes about holistically of what fan bases are saying. And like a lot of times I'm not saying it and you're not saying it.
Well, you're the mascot for it. You're in front of me.
I'm in front of you. Exactly. That's it.
Right.
And your favorite player, John Starks, was singing Hit the Road Jack. So I just want you to remember that. And he was dancing.
I don't mind John Starks. He just embodies to me.
No, hate John Starks.
I don't hate John Starks. It just embodies to me everything that's the 90s
New York.
Knicks.
Sprewell was there. Bernard King was there. All the Knicks were out, and we're ready. I'm wondering why Patrick Ewing's not there, but I think there's a little bit.
They're saving him for the finals.
Yeah, saving him. They got him in the can. But I just feel like it just feels great, man. It just feels great, and I have nothing else to say. And
I'm happy for you.
I
am happy for you.
The Jets need to trade for Aaron Rodgers before the draft.
I'm not talking Aaron Rodgers.
That's all I have to say.
Please.
I need the Mets to come home from the West Coast also because I haven't been able to watch the Mets as much because of the Knicks in the playoffs and they've been on the West Coast and I'm just missing Mets baseball. Like last night they were on and I'm just like watching.
Just shut up. I don't need this fake missing the Mets crap.
I miss the Mets. I miss them.
You miss them like
I'm not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning to watch Mets game 15 of the season. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, you stop with I miss the Mets.
I do.
Enjoy your powerhouse, all right?
My powerhouse, Knicks.
Enjoy your powerhouse. Yes. Good luck to you. And I am happy for you personally.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
People might not believe that. And I tweeted the other day like, it's not happy seeing all these Knicks fans happy. Some are cool. Like,
yeah.
I promise you, if you follow me on Twitter, it's a lot of sarcasm. Sorry if it doesn't come across great. I want them to lose, but I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
The 11 other Knicks fans in the area.
Thank you.
Bad Weather Fans, episode 168. Follow us on Twitter at Bad Weather Fans. Get all content from our show. Of course, at Nick Central. I'm at Mike Delivers Pod. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate a follow. Same as on Spotify. And please leave a comment or a 5-star rating. It makes a big deal. It helps this show out a lot as we will continue to cover the Knicks in the playoffs, working on some guests and all the fun stuff that swirls around it.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
I was thinking maybe you were going to say something like go New York, go, or like, let's get this in 5. I thought you had some rallying cry to end.
I was going to pull up the RJ Barrett chants at the Garden, RJ Barrett.
So unique. No other crowd chants their players' names.
Nobody does.
I've never heard that before.
Nobody does.
No one ever said
other fan bases do it, but nobody does it like Knicks fans.
I was like, man, I've seen the Pacer games and I was like, or Celtic games, and I was like, wow, they say Malcolm Brogdon really well, but not like RJ Barrett.
Pacer fans have the weirdest thing with the car revving up like that's a weird rallying cry in Indiana. But let's not go down that road. Anyway, have a nice day.
Bye.